So, hello to the members of Supermarine. Reese, firstly, I just come to you because I've met you before. I haven't met the other guys before.
Yeah,
Last time I met you was at the Heride Festival when we ended up just outside Hereford in the middle of nowhere playing that lovely sunny
yeah,
weekend.
that was a great day if I remember right.
Wasn't it? Yeah, fantastic festival. Not that well attended, but a really beautiful place. At the time, we were playing with Reese Davis and the Liberators.
Yep.
So since that time, things have moved on. So what's been happening with you and how the band come together?
Um, so yeah, even back then we were working in the shadows, me and Jay in particular, to try and get everything set up for this. So even then the plan was to go back out as a fully fledged band, if you know what I mean, and just sort of like shedding the solo vibe and go in for a full band energy experience. And we spent last summer just getting everything right. We were still playing a couple of shows with Reese Davis and the Liberators, but then um, at the same time we were in the studio recording our first single, Decadent Flowers,
Hmm.
getting ourselves ready and rehearsed, ready for the big reveal really on, I think it was the 10th of October, wasn't it, Jay? Blackwood Miners Institute.
Uh, fourth, Friday the 4th, and then Saturday the 5th was the gig.
What,
Oh, there
what
we
was
go.
what was Jay? What was the big reveal then? Was it they were out and you were in?
Well, I was the drummer for Reese Davis and the Liberators.
There you go. Okay, your hair, I didn't recognize your hair. You see.
Well, I was brown hair until like 3 days ago. It just kind of happened. So that's another story in itself. But yeah, we announced Supermarine. What was it, like early August time? But we didn't play
Yeah,
then until kind of in like at late
October.
September or early October. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you so really, I mean, if you take the kind of lockdown thing into account, you only been playing for like 6 months, really, haven't you? Because you just haven't been able to play for quite a while, I suppose.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
sorry, Reese, go on.
I was going to say we did have a tour booked in April, and gigs booked all the way through really, but we're in the same boat as everyone else. They've all been cancelled and postponed, and there's not much we can really do about it.
No.
Lots of festivals gone as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, of course, and a lot of them obviously gone. Not to be rearranged, unfortunately. Daniel, you played Soon Fest, did you last October? Is that right?
Yeah, we did play. We appeared at Sunfest. We played at Fuel, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How did you get on that one? Because that's quite a prestigious festival to get on.
In all honesty, I don't, but I'm sure Reese will answer it.
Well, it's rock and roll. Make something up, Harvey Goldsmith gave you a call or something.
They heard of Supermarine and they were just like, we just have to have them. These guys, oh yeah.
That's the correct answer. But I mean, that is a fantastic festival to get on. It's quite difficult to get on there. Reese, did that come through the kind of heritage of you, I suppose, and what you'd be doing previously, actually?
Partially. I mean, we were working with the Forte Project at the time, and
okay.
They helped us out massively with a number of things, and Soon was one of them. And I think we can all agree on that. It was a great day, a great gig. We really enjoyed ourselves.
So Fuel is a kind of really full-on kind of metal kind of venue generally, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that why you were in there? Do you fit into that territory?
Not really. I don't know, because I mean we've played Fuel before anyway with Supermarine, and we've always done all right, because I think if we go there we can bring our own crowd.
Okay.
And yeah, you get a couple of people in there who might like the music. You get a couple of people in there who think, oh, it's not heavy enough for me, but we've always done all right.
And the thing with playing something like Soonfest, if I come to Matt, is that you get that kind of you get that kind of legacy from that. You know, you get impact from playing those kind of festivals, and you know, the people that are taking pictures, and you know, you get covered. Like you got coverage here. Quotes looking at me straight here. So, how exciting was it for you to play at Soonfest, Matt? Because you're a Blackwood lad. Are you?
No, I'm from Newport myself.
Oh,
I'm
the big
only one
city,
of
the big
four
city.
of us, yeah. So, but yeah, it was amazing seeing all the coverage. You know, we got a fair bit of coverage from it. A couple of magazines and things. So yeah, that was great. It was the first time I've done anything like that. So yeah, it was a real cool experience for me.
Who were you playing with before you came in to get involved with Supermarine?
I had various little bands, little projects that I tried to start, but it was sort of finding a group of other guys that wanted to do it as much as I did. That's what I've always found difficulty in, is just people kind of, oh yeah, you know, I do want to do this band, but you know, when it comes down to, you know, practicing a lot and, you know, arranging gigs and stuff, it never really seemed to happen. So I was lucky to find these boys, like, you know.
There we are. You can say what you like when they're gone. It's all right. Just looking at the information here on your website, and talking about kind of the hook lines, etc. To quote from your site, gutsy guitar-driven melody lines, classic vocal hooks, and an energetic rhythm section. So those gutsy guitar-driven melody lines, is that something that Reese comes up with, Matt, or do you work with him on that?
Well, I mean, Reese is like, he's the primary songwriter, I guess you'd say, at the moment. He's kind of come in with, you know, a bunch of songs, and then we kind of like, you know, he'll bring an idea to practice, and we'll kind of go, oh yeah, that's great. Maybe I'll add like a layer over the top of it, or, you know, change something and, you know, play it slightly differently. But we've been coming up with a few different ideas in lockdown, and we've started to work a little bit more collaboratively, I guess you'd say. You know, each of us bringing ideas to the table and things.
So Dan, the bass man, you know, often the forgotten party in these things, I always find. So on behalf of the bass playing union, do you want to talk about how you incorporate your stuff in with the band?
How I incorporate my stuff is, you know, I kind of feel I don't try to embellish too much. I just give the song what it needs bass wise, get that low frequency in. I don't go mad per se and do all these, you know, like slap bass techniques, all the stuff. I just do the quintessential stuff for the band, and just lay down the bass in the rhythm section, really. And I love it. It's a nice pocket I sit in. So
that's a good line. I like that. And so I'm thinking, Jay, you're the drummer, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about the remarkable synergy between you and your fine bass player, Daniel?
Dan is simultaneously the bane of my life and also the love of my life. For different reasons. But yeah, he's a really good bass player. You know, we kind of if like Matt was saying, Reese comes in with an idea. It could either be Dan will start playing a bass groove and then I'll match him, or I'll start playing a drum groove and then Dan will match me, kind of thing. You know, we always kind of listen to what each other are playing.
Yeah, like accent stuff together, don't we?
Yeah, pretty standard drum and bass combo. You know, just making sure we're in sync, and then Reese and Matt can kind of like add their layers over the top. Then, you know.
So you must have worked with other bass players over, you know, in your time, I guess. So what makes a kind of, you know, a bass and drums thing kind of, what makes it work? You know, what are the kind of, because you're at the back too. You're generally in the same kind of space, you guys, aren't you?
Yeah. And to answer that question, I guess I kind of said it in my last answer. You just got to lock in with each other. You know, you've got to really concentrate on what, like a drummer's got to concentrate on what bass is doing, and vice versa. You know, it is possible to be playing slightly different things. It doesn't have to be exactly the same rhythm all the time, but as long as you've made like a conscious decision and you know what each of you is playing. But like that applies with the other boys as well. Everybody has to know everybody's parts extremely well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we on Keep Cardiff Live, we've talked to a couple of well, several actually of the most successful music producers in the world, and we've asked them about working with kind of bands like yourselves, I suppose, who, you know, you kind of get in there, but you're not like Premier League yet. You know, you kind of get in there. So when you first get into a studio with a big producer, and the advice always comes across, you know, to make sure you. I know it's obvious, but to a level maybe which I hadn't even thought of, how well you need to know those parts. You need to try different things. You need to have everything absolutely, you know, bang on the money and know those songs inside out and backwards. And the advice for some of them was to practice the living hell out of the songs, break them down, try different structures, try different tempos, different keys, etc. And then when you've got it all, then leave it for like a week or so, and then hit the studio. So when you hit the studio, you're kind of fresh and good to go. Which I thought was interesting advice. Rhys, with the songwriting side of things, is it, you know, as the main songwriter, is there any difference in style now with this band, what you've been doing previously? You trying new stuff or different things?
Yeah, I think the core soul of it is just different, you know. Like whereas Rhys Davies and the Liberators was more. I'm trying to think of the word for it. It was more.
If I can just jump in, it was probably more like poppy and folky, one about the overall sound.
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I mean, it was a more of a. It had more influences, you know. I mean, there was a blues element about it. There was, as Jamie mentioned, there was a bit of a folky element to it and stuff like that. And it was a big sort of coagulation of all the different stuff I listened to. Whereas Supermarine is more of a direct, targeted. You know, we know who we are, we know what we are, and we'll just try and do that to the best we can do it. Like,
I've been on like your website, by the way. Who put the website together?
Me.
Yeah,
that'd be Jay.
Yeah,
Jay Price.
Just out of interest, what platform are you using for that?
Wix.
It's Wix, is it? Wow, it's an amazing site.
Yeah.
You got all you know, people dancing around, having a great old time. Great pictures in there. You know, it looks really sharp. Well done on that.
That video at the front was from basically our most recent gig before lockdown, which was the end of February at Le Pub.
Oh wow!
To support our second single, "Living for the Weekend," we was lucky enough to sell it out, and I think all the boys will agree it was just a crazy night, to be honest.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my god!
You know,
Amazing.
You've played some good venues, haven't you? Have you got Le Pub, which is obviously kind of renowned venue, 10 Feet Tall, Blackwood Miners, which for some of you is your home kind of lair, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
But they're all great venues. Which of you are from Blackwood?
Me, Jay, and Dan.
Okay. So what's it like then, Dan, when you're playing Blackwood Miners? You know, is that kind of a lovely thing to do?
Well, when we played it was for our first single, Decadent Flowers, and it was sold out to 200 people, and I'm sure there was more than 200 people there in the end. And but it's a surreal feeling to have the songs you've been practiced and you've been playing, getting ready for months, and then for the single to be played live and you hear the people singing it back to you.
Wow.
I bet for Rhys, being the writer for the song, it was even better for him. But I remember when it hit that chorus of the song and I could actually hear people singing it back, I was like, oh my God.
How do you develop it? I know you kind of, it's where you're from, but even so, Jay, how do you build a following even in your hometown? How does everybody know about you? How have you done that? Just what's the secret to that?
Part of it's probably nagging everybody you know, saying, hey, I'm in this band, you got to check us out. Then obviously you need if they're going to listen to one song or 30 seconds of a song, you need to make sure it's good enough for them to think, oh yeah, actually, you know, I'm going to latch onto this, and then look out for your next releases. But we always put a big emphasis on live shows. You know, we rehearse more often than not because we basically we want to know the songs like the back of our hands. So when we get up on stage to do the full performance, nothing can go wrong. You know, and I think in a few reviews we've had, people have kind of picked up on the fact that we're quite tight as a unit. So, you know, they can kind of see the hours we've put in beforehand, which is, you know, it's a really nice response to get that.
I mean, one of the things, obviously, the difference in the Liberators, one of the guys in the Liberators was a bit older, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being old, you know, let me tell you that, young man. But looking at the pictures now, you know, it's kind of there's a young, kind of fresh, today kind of look about the stuff. Is that something you want to try and develop, Rhys?
Yeah, I mean, Arnie was a great friend of mine and Jay's. You know, we've known him for a long time. We played with him for a hell of a long time. And he, you know, by far one of the best musicians we've had the grace to play with. Like, you know, very talented man. And I think both of us learned a hell of a lot from him. So,
Yeah, definitely.
you know, for the whole Rhys Davies and the Liberators thing, it didn't really matter who was behind, you know, and in the band, because, you know, it was a solo thing. You know, he was a session musician. And I think that's the difference then when we came to this, is you can have whoever you want in your band when you're a solo player, but when you sort of like come into the band element of things, it's got to look like a band. You've got to be a band. You know?
And the pictures on the side, are they taken in Blackwood or are they in Cardiff? I can't quite tell. You're standing on a street corner.
Yeah, we had a main photo shoot in and around Cardiff last summer.
Yeah.
But then there's also a mixture of like live shots. There's quite a few pictures actually from the Le Pub gig I mentioned.
I reckon that's probably Womanby Street. Is it where you're standing on the corner?
Just outside Club, yeah.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool. Rhys, things seem to have moved quite quickly with the band as well. It just seems like, you know, you're playing all the right venues, getting airplay, doing Soonfest. You know, it looks like you're on the crest of a wave when you get back on the road. Is that right?
Well, hopefully. It's just one of those things, isn't it? I mean, everyone's a bit up in the air at the minute.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we can hit the ground running when it all kicks back in, but, you know, we don't want to count our chickens too early.
What about the BBC Radio Wales coverage? Was that Adam maybe who was playing you?
Yeah, we've had a few plays now. Adam has played all of our singles so far, I believe. Beth and Alfin has played them as well, and we've picked up a couple from Janice Long, which is good now as well. So
great!
It's coming quite nicely. That, you know, we're really happy for the support, and
yeah,
you know, it's just that good feeling in it when you hear your own song getting played on the radio.
Yes, I mean, I just to say one more thing to you at the moment as well, because I worked in radio for years, yeah. So I just wonder from your point of view, how important, maybe if I ask Rhys and maybe everybody else wants to chip in, that's also good. But how important is radio these days in terms of developing bands, do you think?
I think it's still as important as ever, really. I think it, in a way, gives credibility to certain things, certain aspects. I think, you know, regardless of what age you are, everyone listens to the radio still. You know, everyone still puts the radio on in the car, or, you know, when they're out and about, or it's just on in the background. You know, you can't really escape it. So I think trying to break into those audiences you otherwise would never get the chance to try and infiltrate, you know, you're just going to hope without them, really.
Did anybody else want to come in on that one? Because radio's my thing.
It definitely helps. Radio still, it's still a huge part of the music industry, and I think without it, definitely bands at our level, we would probably get no real chance, or at least not as good of a chance as making it without radio. Because, like we said, you do get that coverage, and you get into those certain pockets of groups of people that you wouldn't quite reach without it. So I think it's still really helpful.
Do you think that helps, Matt? Do you think that helps as well in terms of if you wanted to go like with a plugger or try and get some sort of, you know, serious management behind you? The fact you've had that airplay, you can kind of show them that. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's, you know, something to put on the CV, isn't it? You know, I've been played by. Oh, my screen went off then. Yeah, something.
It's better when you're off.
Yeah, that did.
Kidding.
Yeah, it's, you know, something to put on the CV. You've been played by, you know, such and such DJ, and I think when it comes to radio, it's just another format, really. You know, the way people are consuming music now has changed. You know, it's focused mainly on streaming and things like that. You know, Spotify and other platforms. But I think, like the boys said, there'll always be people listening to radio, and for some people, that's the preference. You know, certain pluggers are, you know, looking out for people who've been played on the radios just because, I don't know, I think maybe for some people that's like a level that you have to hit before you can like reset like a credibility thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about something like Darren Broom, you know, because you're probably aware of what Darren does with his company in Wales as a plugger. You know, there's obviously an expense involved in that, Jay. But is that where you sort of you think you might gradually be heading? Because you have already achieved quite a lot in quite a short space of time. You know, I imagine is that the next stage? Do you think, or is that too early to go down that route?
Well, yeah, actually, we've got a new track coming out on Friday, and we decided before we put this one out, we were going to team up with Darren, actually, as you mentioned, for this track. So he's been great help to us.
Brilliant.
I just wanted to go back just to the last question quickly and say that the radio thing, we've actually had people come to shows that have heard us like on Radio Wales.
Fantastic.
So, that's like one of the things the boys didn't mention about like the importance of it, you know, which it was actually my grandmother came to a gig and she said, Jay, come and meet this guy. You've got to meet him. I was like, oh, okay. She says, oh, he was listening to Beth and Elfyn on Saturday night, and you know, wanted to come to a show based off hearing your song on Radio Wales. So, you know, that was quite a mad one.
That's great, actually. I mean, I love to hear that because, you know, obviously I'm a big radio fan, but I think it still does have a role to play for sure. And I know, you know, if you're working with Darren, that's great news because he absolutely totally knows his stuff inside out and backwards. And if anyone can get you airplay, I think it's Darren. And that's why I was asking. So looking at your stuff here and speaking to you, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, you're ideal for Darren, I think. Tell us a little bit about the new single, Rhys.
So Long Walk Home is it's kind of like one of those songs that's based off the drunken thoughts on a way home after a night out.
I can't relate to that.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think it's one of those things everyone's experienced it. Everyone unwillingly sort of knows what it's about, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just covering like some of the thoughts that have gone through my head on. It's not even a particularly long walk, but from Black Wetherspoons to my house. But you know,
it can be.
Well, it can be. It can take a bit longer some nights, but generally, it's, you know, it's just kind of like one of those things where you're walking along. There's maybe 2 street lights on if you're lucky, because of the council's daylight saving and all that. And you're just thinking of life. You know, what's going to come, what's already been, and just the possibilities of everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lovely idea. Like you say, everybody can relate to that, and that's always a good thing for a song. I mean, many years ago, I was probably younger than any of you guys. I can't remember where I was, but I remember coming home on the back of a milk float, you know. I don't think the milkman knew about it, but there we go, left down. So. Is there a video for this song, or will there be?
Yep, we got one ready to go. We're all really happy with it. We think it's, you know, probably one of the best videos we've done to date. So
for Tony's benefit, just to say, if this is of interest to you, if you wanted us, since it comes out this week, if you wanted us to, you know, promote that for you, then that might work well for you the week that it comes out. If you wanted to,
sure, no problem.
Yeah, that'd be excellent. I mean, Jay's probably the man for that. He's your
techie guy. Yeah. He's you know, for a drummer, he's quite talented, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not bad. He does his roles. So he's good when it comes to all the video stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and website stuff like that. Jay's the man for that.
Absolutely, so valuable though to have somebody who can do that stuff. You know, it's great. The last thing I wanted to ask you about really was about kind of looking at, and you know what's on your website, but I mean things about, people, the reference points, people who you are compared to. I mean, there's a few here. There's 4 in front of me here, actually. But I wonder if there's any others. I mean, I'll say the ones that they are: Catfish and the Bottlemen, Kings of Leon, Foo Fighters, and Stereophonics. 4, pretty successful acts. Is there anyone else, maybe, that if I come back to Dan, is there anyone else you kind of identified, you think, in your sound for people who haven't heard you?
I mean, I think we're more not trying to really base our music off certain influences, but kind of mixing them together to get our own sound. So I remember, like, I don't remember who it's from, but a quote from somebody saying, how you find your original band and your original sound is from trying to cover someone else and just being absolutely terrible at it, and you create your own sound in that way. I'm sure we've all gone like that, but I guess some really weird sort of comparisons.
Yeah, and that's what I'm interested in, actually.
Yeah, someone compared us to Aerosmith once.
Right.
Wow.
And I really didn't see that one, but it is what it is.
Have any of you, who have you come across then, Matt? Who any odd references people have said to you after a gig?
Oh, odd references. I don't know about any super crazy ones. I mean, I've heard people compare us to bands like Feeder, another great Welsh band. Phonics, the obvious Welsh connections, but I haven't had anything too crazy, to be honest.
An interesting one I heard recently was the Gaslight Anthem. Now, I'd only heard like 1 or 2 of their tracks. Have you heard of them at all?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't. Tony may have done.
No.
There's a really good song I came across on Spotify a few days ago called 45 by the Gaslight Anthem, and it just came up as like a suggested song in a playlist that Spotify creates for you.
Oh yeah.
And when I heard that, I thought to myself, okay, I kind of see it now, a little bit. So yeah, that was an interesting one.
So Reese, have you had any after a gig? Oh, you're great. You're the Rolling Stones. You are.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, you get the ones. It's like, it's like the Manics will come up a lot, but I don't really think we sound anything like the Manics. I think it's just that whole.
It's the whole Welsh thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the whole, and Blackwood as well.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like begging for it, isn't it? And
I mean, I've just got to say a couple of quick things. Obviously, Stereophonics were originally called Tragic Love Company, and that was from I think they might have been a Canadian band called Tragically Hip, who I really liked. Who liked, like you just said, Jay, were a pretty obscure band, but when you hear it, you kind of hear the connection. Also, Love, who I recently watched the Glastonbury thing on the weekend, they were on there, and of course, Bad Company. So bands like that, they all have those kind of connections as well. The last thing I wanted to say to you was about Blackwood, because again, we were interviewing two of the producers we interviewed recently have both worked with the Manic Street Preachers in quite significant ways. And I'll quote Greg Haver to you, Reese, then, yeah? So okay. Greg Haver is if you know him, you'll know him, but he's a massively successful producer. He lives out in New Zealand now, and he's based at Neil Finn's studio in New Zealand. But he worked closely with the Manics. And I said to him, and this is predominantly for the 3 of you from Blackwood, and I said, in my opinion, I don't think the Manic Street Preachers could pretty well have come from anywhere else, but from where they came from. It's kind of what they were and what they were about. Is there any of that at all in you guys, do you think?
Yeah.
And what is the Blackwood thing that runs through you, if it is?
I personally think so, yeah. I mean, it's a very unique place, Blackwood, and I feel it's had its influences on, the 3 of us, at least, for better or worse. It's part of who we are, where we've come from. And I think, it's not easy being in a band from a little town in the valleys, It can be quite challenging in some ways, whereas, if you're in a big city, it can be a little easier, finding the right places and and the connections and stuff like that, because you're in it, you're amongst it. Whereas everything we've done, everything we do is all off our own back. You know, we've got to go looking for things. We've got to go out and get into these places, you know. And I think that's kind of it's a good trait to have, really. But I think it's served us well, especially in the last couple of months.
Did either of the other Blackwoodians want to come in on that?
Yeah, I feel like Blackwood is sort of, it's kind of it has an unspoken sort of, I don't know what to say, like a vibe to it. It's not exactly, you know, Cardiff, for example.
It's very different to Cardiff, isn't it?
Oh, very much so, yeah. But how it kind of goes through me, I feel like it kind of gives me like a sort of edge or like angstiness to it, sort of just in your face sort of vibe.
Yeah.
But that's how it comes across for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's what I picked up on from the Manics, really, particularly with their early stuff.
Oh yeah,
you know,
definitely.
that kind of idea of fighting back, you know, and you know, libraries give us power and all the rest of it. Jay, did you want to come in on that at all?
I think the other two guys have kind of hit the nail on the head, really. But sort of just off something you just mentioned, I think there's a lot of songs coming through maybe about trying to kind of like break away, if that makes sense, and break free and just go dive into like the big bad world. You know, because we're from small communities in the valleys, little villages and stuff. Because I'm 5 minutes away from Blackwood, a little village called Annesty in Cumberland-Vach, which no one has ever heard of because, you know, and probably can't pronounce. But yeah, it's kind of like you're in a community, but you're also a little bit secluded from bigger life, maybe. So yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of songs about trying to break free and trying to venture out into the world a bit, you know.
Well, let's hope you do some venturing when all of this, you know, stuff is over, whenever that is, and it looks like you've got a fan base ready to roll, and you know, you've been working on your songs, and you've got the video coming out and the single coming out this week. So, good luck with all of that. Thanks for chatting to us today. I'm sure
Thanks for having us on as well.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, thanks. You know, it's been nice, and we're very happy to promote the video and put it on the site for you if we wanted to. I'm speaking for Tony. I'm sure he'd love to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'd love that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And obviously keep in touch as things carry on and as things develop. You know, I suppose you'd be playing gigs the same time as everyone else is, but we just don't know when that is.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Really, no one knows now, so it's just a waiting game.
But just to say once again, I love this about Zoom because I got a terrible memory, as Tony would say, but I can say thank you, Jay, Reese, Daniel, and Matt.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks,
a
guys.
lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
I'll send it across as soon as I got it. Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Excellent. Cheers.
Thanks.